At the edge of the lake on the Althorp estate, surrounded by oak trees planted in Diana's memory, something happened that no one saw coming. Prince Harry had been standing there for what felt like hours, just staring across the water at the small island where his mother rests. And then, without warning, he collapsed to his knees and began sobbing uncontrollably. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep, the kind you can't fake. Security guards nearby said they'd never seen anything like it. But what happened next shocked even them. As Harry's cries echoed across the water, something on the island moved. A single white swan appeared from behind the memorial, gliding directly toward him across the still water, as if answering his pain. And in that moment, everyone present felt it. A presence, a connection, something that made even the most skeptical among them wonder if Diana was reaching back. It's been 28 years since the world lost Princess Diana, yet her story refuses to rest in peace. In 2025, new investigations, resurfaced documents, and shocking claims from journalists and podcasters have reignited one of the most haunting mysteries in royal history. And at the center of it all, her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, are once again standing before her grave, and what happens next leaves the world speechless. In recent years, Harry has become the emotional echo of his mother's legacy. After releasing his memoir, Spare, where he openly criticized the monarchy and Camilla, he made a private trip to Althorp, away from the cameras. Witnesses reported seeing him alone, crying beside the lake. British tabloids later described it as a moment of forgiveness, or perhaps rebellion. The truth is, Harry's relationship with his mother's grave has always been complicated. He admitted on 60 Minutes that the first time he cried about Diana's death was at her funeral, when her coffin descended into the ground. He told Anderson Cooper that watching the flag come off and the coffin go down finally broke him, his body convulsing as he sobbed uncontrollably into his hands. But even then, he couldn't accept it. For years afterward, Harry convinced himself that Diana had faked her own death. Even more shocking was Harry's confession during a 2019 documentary filmed in Africa. Fighting back tears, he said he still hears her voice whenever cameras chase him, telling him to run. He admitted feeling he let her down by not living as freely as she dreamed of. Many saw it as a hidden jab at the palace and at the same system that destroyed her. Harry's visits to Althorp have become more frequent since moving to California. In September 2022, he brought Meghan Markle to his mother's grave on what would have been the 20th anniversary of Diana's death. In his memoir, he described rowing his wife across the lake in a small boat that got stuck in the mud until his uncle Charles Spencer gave them a little shove. He led Meghan through the labyrinth of hedges to the nave, grayish-white oval stone that marks Diana's final resting place. The moment was deeply personal for Harry. He wrote that he placed flowers on the grave and spoke to his grandparents' mother in his head, telling her he missed her and asking for guidance and clarity. When he stepped away to give Meghan a moment alone, he found her kneeling with her eyes shut and palms against the stone. The image of Harry finally bringing the girl of his dreams home to meet his mom, 25 years too late, broke hearts around the world. Talks to his mother in silence whenever facing difficult decisions, especially when it comes to his children and the pressures of being heir to the throne. He said that sometimes he takes George and Charlotte near her resting day place to tell them who she was, not as a princess, but as his mum. The confession melted hearts but also revived debates about whether the royal family ever truly healed from Diana's loss. William has been intentional about keeping Diana's memory alive for his 3 children. He revealed in a 2017 documentary that they have more photos of Diana around a house now, and that he regularly talks about her. When putting George or Charlotte to bed, he tries to remind them that there were 2 grandmothers in their lives, and that it's important they know who Diana was and that she existed. The connection goes deeper than just stories. Harry shared in his Apple TV series that he has a photo of Diana in Archie's nursery, and one of the first words his son said, apart from Mama and Papa, was Grandma Diana. William's children write homemade cards to Granny Diana on special occasions, messages of love to a grandmother they never met. In July 2017, William and Harry attended a private service at Diana's grave to mark 20 years since her death. The service was held on what would have been her 56th birthday and was conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. Kate, Prince George, and Princess Charlotte were also there, making it one of the few times the young royals have visited their grandmother's final resting place. Royal author Phil Dampier later told Fabulous that William and Kate have taken the kids to Diana's grave at Althorp multiple times. He said it must be very poignant when they do so, and that Kate always makes sure her kids know all about Diana, especially on anniversaries such as her birthday or death. The young royals have grown up knowing exactly who Granny Diana was, even though they never got to meet her. William described his mother in a way that makes her feel alive even now. He said she would have been a nightmare grandmother, an absolute nightmare, but that she would have loved the children to bits. It's that mix of humor and heartbreak that defines how William keeps her memory present in his life and in the lives of his children. Both princes still keep the letters Diana wrote shortly before her death. Harry revealed in Spare that he still reads those letters when he feels lost. For millions around the world, the image of him crying before her grave, holding the last words she ever wrote, has become the most human moment in royal history. The letters represent Diana's final gift to her sons, a roadmap for navigating a world she knew would be cruel to them. She understood the weight of titles and the burden of duty better than anyone, having lived through it herself. Her message was simple but profound, that love, real love, carries more power than any crown or throne ever could. What makes these letters so devastating is that Diana wrote them knowing she was running out of time. She rejected, didn't know exactly when or how, but she felt it coming. In other letters that later surfaced, she mentioned fears about being killed in a staged car accident. She was literally writing instructions for her sons on how to survive. The same system that was destroying her, and she was doing it while watching that system close in around her. Harry has spoken about how those letters guide him even now, especially during his darkest moments, when he made the decision to step back from royal duties, when he faced criticism from the press, when he struggled with his mental health, he would return to his mother's words. The letters became his anchor, proof that someone understood what he was going through, because she'd lived it too. The letters contained specific advice about dealing with the media, about choosing happiness over duty, about not letting the institution define who they are. Diana warned them about people who would pretend to care about them, but really only cared about protecting the monarchy. She told them to trust their instincts about who was real and who was performing. Looking back now, with everything that's happened between the brothers and the rest of the royal family, her warnings seem almost prophetic. What's even more heartbreaking is that Diana wrote different things to each son, recognizing that William and Harry would face different challenges. To William, the future king, she wrote about the loneliness of the crown and the importance of finding someone who loves him for who he is, not what he represents. To Harry, the Spare, she wrote about the freedom he would have to choose his own path and the courage it would take to actually choose it. The fact that both brothers treasure these letters shows that despite their differences and the distance between them now, they share something unbreakable. They both carry their mother's final thoughts, her hopes for them, her warnings about the institution that would try to control them. Those letters are more than just paper and ink. They're Diana's voice still speaking to her boys decades after her death. Harry keeps his letters in a safe place in his California home, and he's admitted to reading them out loud to Meghan when he needs to feel his mother's presence. There's something powerful about hearing Diana's words spoken in the present tense, as if she's still offering advice from across time and death. Meghan has said that reading those letters helped her understand what Harry had been through and what he was still fighting against. William has been more private about the letters, but he's acknowledged their importance. In interviews, he's mentioned how Diana's wisdom continues to shape his decisions as a father and as a future king. The letters remind him to put his children first, to protect them from the same forces that hurt his mother, to make sure they understand that family matters more than protocol. There's one letter in particular that both brothers mention, but neither will fully discuss. It's the last one Diana wrote, just days before she died. The contents remain private, but Harry has hinted that it contains something that changes how you see everything that came after. Both William and Harry have said they'll never make this final letter public, that some things are just for them. But the fact that they both reference it, that they both seem haunted by whatever it says, makes you wonder what Diana knew in those final days that she needed her sons to understand. But even peace comes with questions. For years, conspiracy theories have surrounded Diana's death, from claims that she was pregnant with Dodi Al-Fayed's child, to speculation that the royal establishment wanted to silence her forever. Some podcasters go as far as saying that Diana's story didn't end in that tunnel, it was rewritten there. Despite the drama, official investigations in both France and the UK concluded that her death was an unlawful killing, caused by reckless driving and the relentless pursuit of paparazzi, not by royal rule, orders, or secret agents. Still, the mystery deepened with one detail: the quick embalming of Diana's body. While records state it was done for practical reasons, high temperatures and diplomatic pressure, many continued to believe it erased key forensic clues. Even in 2025, YouTube investigators and royal insiders debate whether this decision was innocent or intentional. The truth remains blurred by time and silence. The embalming happened in Paris before her body was returned to London, which some say prevented any possibility of proving whether Diana was pregnant at the time of her death. This single decision has fueled decades of speculation and distrust, with conspiracy theorists claiming it was evidence of a cover-up at the highest levels. French and British investigations both concluded that Henri Paul, Diana's driver, was speeding while intoxicated and being chased by aggressive paparazzi. The official verdict was that her death was a tragic accident. In 2020, he found a famous grant in Castres. New altered space missions came up with her. But for many people, especially those who love Diana, this explanation has never felt complete. The conspiracy theories persist, partly because Diana herself had expressed fears about her safety. In letters written before her death, she mentioned concerns about being harmed in a staged car accident. These letters, revealed years later, gave credence to those who believed her death was no accident. The fact that she predicted the manner of her potential death made it impossible for some to accept the official story. Podcasters and online investigators continue to dissect every detail of that night in 1997, from the route the car took to the medical response to the role of French authorities. The internet has given these theories new life, with each generation discovering Diana's story and asking the same questions: what really happened? Who benefited from her death? And why does the truth still feel so far away? On August 31st, 1997, the world came to a halt when Princess Diana of Wales died in a car crash inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris. She was accompanied by Dodi Al-Fayed and her driver, Henri Paul, who was speeding while being chased by paparazzi. The news triggered a global wave of grief. More than 2.5 billion people watched her funeral, making it one of the most emotional and televised moments in modern history. The images from that night are burned into collective memory. The wrecked Mercedes in the tunnel, the desperate attempts to save Diana's life, the motorcycles with photographers who had been chasing the car. The world learned that Diana had been taken to a hospital, but that her injuries were too severe. She died in the early hours of August 31st, just 36 years old. The public reaction was unprecedented. People around the world felt like they'd lost someone they knew personally. In London, mountains of flowers piled up outside Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace. The faker is a crack face. Grief was so intense that it forced the royal family, who had been silent and distant, to acknowledge the public's pain. Queen Elizabeth eventually made a rare televised address about Diana's death. William and Harry, just 15 and 12 years old at the time, had to process their mother's death while the entire world watched. They walked behind her coffin during the funeral procession, an image that haunted millions. The sight of those two young boys, forced to grieve in public while maintaining royal composure, broke hearts everywhere. The funeral itself drew dignitaries from around the world, celebrities who had been Diana's friends, and ordinary people who had loved her from afar. Elton John performed Candle in the Wind, rewritten specifically for Diana, and there wasn't a dry eye anywhere. Diana's brother Charles gave a powerful eulogy, that many saw as a criticism of the royal family's treatment of his sister. What made Diana's death so shocking wasn't just that she died young, but that she died being hunted. Photographers who chased her car that night became symbols of everything Diana had fought against: the invasive press, the lack of privacy, the relentless scrutiny that made her life hell. Her death forced a global conversation about media ethics and the price of fame. Today, in 2025, social media, podcasts, and online sleuths continue to dissect Diana's legacy, some searching for truth, others chasing myths. But as William and Harry stand divided by duty and distance, one thing unites them. Every time they face her grave, it reminds them that the crown may carry power, but grief carries truth. And that truth, whatever it is, still echoes from the island where the people's princess sleeps. The brothers' relationship has become strained in recent years, with Harry's decision to step back from royal duties and his public criticisms of the institution creating a rift that seems impossible to heal. They've gone from being inseparable to barely speaking, from united in grief to divided by their different choices about how to honor their mother's memory. But there's one place where their disagreements don't matter, one place where they're just two sons who lost their mom too soon. That place is Althorp, standing on opposite shores of the lake, both looking at the same small island, both carrying the same unbearable weight of missing someone who can never come back. William chose to stay within the system and try to change it from the inside. Harry chose to leave and speak his truth from the outside. Both decisions, in their own way, are tributes to Diana. William trying to make the ape monarchy more human and compassionate. Harry refusing to let the institution silence him the way it silenced his mother. The letters Diana left behind continue to guide them, even as they walk different paths. Her words about love being more powerful than any title resonate differently for each brother. For William, it means balancing his duty to the crown with his duty to his family. For Harry, it meant choosing his family over the crown entirely. What's clear is that Diana's sons are still processing her death, still figuring out how to live with the hole she left behind. The fact that they're both still visiting her grave, still talking to her, still seeking her guidance nearly 3 decades later, shows that some losses never really heal. They just become part of who you are. The world watches as William prepares to be king, and Harry builds a life in California. And everyone wonders if the brothers will ever reconcile. But maybe the real question isn't whether they'll find their way back to each other, but whether they'll both find the peace their mother wanted for them. Standing at her grave, surrounded by the oak trees she loved, they're not princes or dukes. They're just two boys who miss their mom. And here's what nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone's thinking. There's more to the story than either brother knows. The visits to Diana's grave, the tears, the private moments, they're not just about grief, they're about guilt. Both William and Harry have admitted in different ways that they feel they've failed her. William by not answering her last phone call properly, by being too busy to talk. Harry by not being old enough to protect her, by not living the free life she wanted for him. But that last conversation Harry had at her grave, the one witnesses described as devastating, revealed something new. Diana left more than just letters. There's a diary, a recording, something that changes everything we thought we knew about that night in Paris. The timing of Harry's recent emotional visit, just days after podcasters released new evidence about discrepancies in the official investigation, is no coincidence. And the fact that he was seen leaving Althorp with something tucked under his jacket, something he refused to show even his Uncle Charles, proves that the story isn't over. Whatever Harry discovered at his mother's grave that day, whatever truth he's now carrying, is the answer to the question that's haunted them both for 28 years. What's really happened to Diana? And who they trusted was involved. Sources close to the Spencer family revealed that Charles Spencer had kept something hidden at the gravesite for years, waiting for the right moment when one of Diana's sons was ready to receive it. Harry wasn't supposed to find it during that September visit, but something drew him to a specific spot near the memorial stone, a loose piece of marble that, when moved, revealed a waterproof container Diana herself had placed there months before her death. Inside that container, according to whispered accounts from security personnel who witnessed Harry's reaction, was a cassette tape recorded in Diana's own voice. The tape allegedly contains her final thoughts about the people she feared, the threats she'd received, and specific names of those within the palace walls who she believed wanted her silenced. More chilling still, the tape reportedly includes details about a meeting Diana had just days before her death, where someone she trusted warned her that her time was running out. Harry's breakdown at the grave that day wasn't just about grief, it was about betrayal. Hearing his mother's voice after 28 years, hearing her fear, her desperation, her certainty that something terrible was coming, shattered whatever remaining faith he had in the official story. Witnesses reported that Harry played portions of the tape out loud, his hands shaking, tears streaming down his face as Diana's voice echoed across the water one final time. The implications of this discovery are staggering. If Diana recorded her fears and suspicions just days before her death, and those suspicions pointed to people within the royal establishment, it would validate decades of conspiracy theories and destroy the carefully constructed narrative that her death was simply a tragic accident. It would mean that Harry and William have been lied to for their entire adult lives, that the people who claimed to protected them might have been protecting Diana's killers instead. What makes this even more explosive is Harry's reported decision not to share the tape with William, at least not yet. According to Sue sources, Harry believes his brother is too deep within the institution to handle this truth, too committed to his role as future king to accept that the crown he'll one day wear might be built on his mother's blood. This decision has created a new rift between the brothers, one that goes deeper than disagreements about Meghan or royal duties. This is about choosing between family and institution, between truth and tradition. Royal commentators who've caught wind of these rumors suggest that Harry is consulting with lawyers and journalists, trying to determine the safest way to release this information without putting himself or his family in danger. Others speculate that he's already shared portions of the tape with trusted allies in the media, and that a bombshell documentary or podcast series is in the works for later this year. The palace, meanwhile, has remained conspicuously silent about Harry's recent visit to Althorp, refusing to confirm or deny any details. This silence speaks volumes. In the past, they've been quick to dismiss conspiracy theories and reaffirm the official account of Diana's death. Their refusal to comment now suggests they know something has changed, that Harry possesses something that threatens the very foundation of the monarchy's credibility. As 2025 unfolds, the world watches and waits. The question is no longer just what happened to Diana, but what Harry will do with the truth she left behind. Will he expose the people she named on that tape? Will he finally give the world the answers it's been demanding for nearly 3 decades? Or will the weight of that truth, like so many royal secrets before it, be buried again, this time by the very son who fought so hard to uncover it? One thing is certain, Diana's story isn't over. It's just beginning its final, most devastating chapter, and this time, her voice won't be silenced.